Hello friends and enemies. Today will be a little bit of a shorter one. We are looking at GORR from Thor, God of Thunder, the comic series. I was going to review him as part of another Too Many Pre-Orders video, but I think he deserves his own video, even though it will be short, because I've heard that people do not like this figure, and I am very curious to know why. I've never read these comics, but the art in them is beautiful, and I would like to read them someday. And GORR himself in the comics looks really cool. I love his character design. Just very flowy and regal, but also menacing. So we've got the windowless packaging, which has been the norm for a bit now. A picture of the actual product, and then some comic art in the background, some comic art on the side. On the back you've got another picture, including what he comes with. Now I don't mind the windowless packaging, though it can be a problem, especially when you're dealing with theft of the contents and returns. Alright, GORR, why do people hate you? Very eager to find out. He's got the hand feet that I love. I am always down for a good set of non-human hand feet, unless they're on monkeys and apes, two creatures that are not to be trusted. So right away I see one of the problems with this figure is that he does not want to stand up. And you'd think that he'd be good at it with these big feet, but he does not want to balance whatsoever. I can't really tell why, because he's not particularly back heavy. The knee joints are also a little gummy. Why won't you stand up? Very interesting. So that is one reason so far why I can tell people don't like this figure. Looking at pictures, it seems that the comic book GORR is a lot leaner. Like, he's still jacked, but he's leaner than this. I mean, this figure's thighs are huge. And maybe this is just a personal preference, but there are a lot of panels I'm seeing from the comic where his eyes are either just white or pure black. And I prefer that to the weird, like, exhausted reptilian look they gave him here. Like, his eyes are yellow and they're also just really baggy, like red bags underneath them. I prefer just a blank white or blank black eye, especially for something as menacing and alien as this guy is supposed to be. Yeah, the head doesn't move much. I reckon it is mostly the articulation and the standing issue that people don't like about this. Though it could be all the obvious cuts as well. The cape looks really cool though. Very dynamic even when just standing there. I think I'd prefer a lighter skin color on him. He looks a little too gray, whereas the comic book version looks pretty pasty. And just that pasty white against these ink black, I don't really know what they are because I haven't read the comics, but like tattoos, corruption, whatever. It looks really cool in 2D form, and it could look really cool in 3D form, but I don't know. I honestly don't dislike this so far because it's a unique character, like a unique, you know, I have a lot of humans. I don't really have a lot of aliens yet until I get the Cosmic Legions line from Four Horsemen Studios. The standing thing is a problem though. Let's quickly go over articulation and then we'll look at accessories. He's very stiff, but that is because he's right out of the package. Pretty standard Marvel Legends articulation. Double elbow, twist and up and down on the wrist. Crunch, he's got this huge cut here, but not much of a crunch. I guess I was expecting more, but I shouldn't have, because obviously these are going to get in the way. He's got this twist, which is also not well hidden, and he's a character that's mostly naked, right? So with those, it is harder to hide the articulation and the cuts, and I can forgive that. Up, side. His leg goes pretty far back because his butt is so small, and I really like that because on a lot of figures, particularly female figures, the butt is very accentuated, so the leg won't go far back. I don't have as much of a problem with that because, as I've said before in previous reviews, I am not a huge stickler about articulation. It's mainly the sculpt and the paint that I look at, but on certain more athletic figures, it would be nice for their legs to get more movement. Thigh swivel, which looks really, really awkward on him when you twist it out of its predetermined position. Double knee with the pins. And then, weirdly, a shin swivel? I don't know why. And then we've got rock and up and down on that ankle. So really not terrible articulation. I mean, it's, like I said, it's pretty standard for Marvel Legends. Man, he does not want to stand up though, dude. Come on. So let's look at his accessories. We've got an alternate hand with the sword attached. I assume that this is the Necrosword and it has just kind of melded with his body, and that's what all that black stuff is. and he can just kind of summon it forward whenever he needs it from his hand, which is gnarly but also really cool. And I think this is a nice sculpt. It's goopy. It's body horror, which is my favorite type of horror. The sword is a very pliable, rubbery plastic, which is good as far as anti-breakage goes, but it does want to curl up. So I might need to straighten that out with some hot water. But yeah, you're not breaking this thing. And we've got an alternate head. I really like the bared teeth here. There's a lot of tiny detail there. Some really intricate paintwork. I don't know how I feel about the human ear on this obviously alien creature. But yeah, I really wish that his eyes were just black or white. But here we've got another head portrait, and you can see his like Twi'lek tentacles. What are these for? Can he pick things up with them? That'd be pretty cool. Like an extra pair of tiny wiggly arms but attached to your head. This cowl is part of this head portrait. Oh, that was a little difficult. And if you want, you can take off the entire cloak and just have mostly naked buff alien body. I was afraid his head kind of looked a little bit small for the body, but once I've got it on, it works fine. I will say also that I'm not a real big fan of the pops of like red peach throughout the body, like here and at the tips here. From a biological point of view, at least in Earth species anyway, that is where the skin would be a little more flushed, because that's where a lot of blood vessels are going to be, especially on these what I assume are injured areas where the parasitic necrosword is taking over. But as far as like a design perspective, I think it'd be just way cooler for a stark white or a lighter gray, jet black against that, and no red. Some very interesting anatomy on the back. I mean, he's an alien, so I'm not going to talk smack about this because obviously it is intended to be alien anatomy, but yeah, that's kind of funky looking. It's definitely not a human back. I kind of wish that the weird anatomy had extended throughout the rest of his body, but for the most part it is fairly human. But then again, that might just be a personal preference. I really like my alien designs to be just get real weird with it, you know? Yeah, this bent necrosword is a bit of a problem. It just looks silly. It doesn't look menacing at all. Hopefully that'll straighten out with some warm water. And he's standing now, mostly with the help of that cloak in the back. If you position it in a certain way where multiple points of the folds are touching the table, he'll stand all right. But any kind of more involved pose, I think, might be a problem. We have a She-Hulk here, so I'm just going to put her next to him just for comparison. She is a taller figure, obviously, because it's She-Hulk, and so GORR is stacking up pretty nicely to her as well. He's a big boy, almost as tall as her, and definitely thicker than her. So yeah, I don't know, people were hating on this figure. I can see where some unhappiness may stem from as far as this goes. There are some problems. It is not perfect, and there are some things I would do differently, but a lot of that is personal preference, and also I'm not a toy manufacturer. So am I disappointed? I mean, maybe a little bit, just because I really want to get rid of that red and have his skin be a whiter white. But do I hate this figure? No, not really. So likes and subscribes are very much appreciated. Comments are more than welcome, and I will see you guys on the next one.